Countdown U. My name's Ryan Sullivan. His name is Andrew Wadden, and we are ready to start the show.
Ryan, we're into week 3 now of the CIS season, and we're really starting to see a separation between the weak and the strong.
Well, can't argue with that. Alberta hosting Saskatchewan. Speaking of the week, do we even need to show you the highlights? It's the Alberta Golden Bears against the mighty Saskatchewan Huskies. I mean, it's over. It's over. Why do we need to show highlights? It's Alberta. We need to show highlights because it was actually one hell of a tight game.
'Twas a hell of a tight game. Pick it up in the third Q, already 10-9 Saski, when Drew Burko goes 41 yards deep to Andre Lalonde. The Hilltop standout puts Saski up 17-9. Curtis Dell then delivers Chris Friesen an early birthday present. What was that? A horribly thrown panic ball. It results in Drew Burko finding Kieran Johnson right over the middle. Huskies out in front 24-9. Ed Ilnicki, the one bright spot here for Alberta early on. This is one of his 2 touchdowns on the day. It put Alberta right back in the game. Dell then finds Adam Zidell deep. He goes all the way down to the 1 and out. Dell would tie it up with a keeper. Alberta, though, losing in overtime 42-41. So the Golden Bears drop their home opener, but they will have a chance to redeem themselves in front of their home fans hosting the Regina Rams this weekend. It's also your Krown Canada West game of the week.
Regina and Manitoba to face the Herd. Nick Dembski back in the Bison's lineup, squaring off against Cayman Shutter and the Rams. First few minutes of the game, Manitoba pivot Jordan Yance hits a wide open Keenan LaFrance. The KLF is gonna rock you. What? No 90s dance music fans out there? Bisons take the early lead. Midway through the first, well, this happened.
It goes to the air and it's incomplete. And crashing into the goalpost was Mitch Thompson. He was completely unaware of where the goalposts were.
Mitch Thompson gets taken out by the 13th man, the goalpost. The kid was shook up, but he did return. Second cue, Shutter throws the ball somewhere towards Addison Richards, a nothing play, but it would end the night for Richards as he was seen on the sidelines doing a concussion protocol. Next series, and the momentum looks to shift Regina's way. Mitch Thompson fields the punt, shakes his way out of the pack. Take us away, Mr. Jim Mullen.
And still on his feet and breaks out of the pack. Where did he come from? Unbelievable. 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Touchdown, Regina Rams.
But hold up, wait a minute. The Stripes call an illegal block on the Rams. Later in the queue, the pain gets worse for the visitors. Shutter gets picked. Jonathan Jones with the pick 6. Third cue now. Yance goes deep for Dembski. That put the Bisons ahead by 32. Stick a fork in the Rams as they are done. Yance with a decent performance in the win, while Shutter had a night he'd soon like to forget.
UBC hosting Calgary. Yes, it is the Thunderbirds' home opener. Yes, it was an occasion not to remember, already trailing 7-blank when Jake Hardy pulls down this Andrew Buckley moonball with one hand. Gorgeous. It's 14-0 for the Prehistorics. Mercer Timmis then takes a little dump off from Andrew Buckley, and he's gone. UBC cannot catch the widest guy on the field. This makes it 28-2 at the end of the first quarter. Finally, Jake Hardy reels in this toss over the middle at the 32 and says, I don't want the offense on the field anymore. He goes 71 yards through the University of British Columbian Defensive Corps, if you can call it that. Your final score on a long afternoon at UBC, 59-11. Interesting to note, over their 2 games this season, the Calgary Dinos have not allowed an offensive touchdown against. Insane. Andrew Buckley only played half the game, believe it or not. A pretty good day at the office for him. Check out those numbers. Calgary gets their first real test of the season when they visit the City of Bridges, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan this weekend.
Calgary remains on top of the CW leaderboard. The real fight this season will be just who can lock down that second spot.
Are the Saint FX X-Men for real? That's a question on many people's minds going into week 3 of the AUS campaign. Well, that question would be answered over this past weekend when X played host to the reigning conference champs.
Let's get right to the best part of this game. Mounties down by 5 in the final minute. Brandon Lay does his best Brett Favre impression. scrambles out, fires the pigskin downfield. Josh Blanchard makes a fantastic grab. Let's take another look at this. Kids, take note. This is how not to tackle displayed by the X-Men D. Mounties score 14 points in the final minute to sneak out a win on the road. Lay is building his case as a serious Heck Crichton nominee. Blanchard with a monstrous game as well for MTA, while Ashton Dixon was in beast mode on the ground for X.
Acadia hosting St. Mary's. We start things out with a great run from Tommy Troop. Makes a few men miss to the outside. He rumbles her down to the 1 yard line, and he would finish it off from there. I like the bump and grind style. It's Scott Borden in for the non-productive Ben Rassong. He dumps it off to Melvin Abankwa, who goes airborne, and he lands on his tailbone. He'd be down, but he'd shake it off. He'd be all right, stay in the game. Borden then looks to the air and finds Omer Abdallah, who makes a gorgeous catch in the back corner of the end zone. SMU takes the lead, but not for long. This Ryan began field goal puts Acadia up by 3, so with one last chance, what could Borden do? He gets popped, he fumbles, Adam Melanson with the recovery, Acadia with the win, 16-13. Acadia head coach Jeff Cummins saying after the game, it was an ugly football game, but I like winning ugly as opposed to losing ugly. True enough, their next chance to win ugly will come this weekend when they host St. FX.
The Mounties continue to hold down first in the conference, but don't count out the rest in what looks to be the most competitive conference in the entire CIS.
The AOR Bowl got underway this past weekend. The Ver AOR against the Rouge AOR. The ultimate battle for Middle Earth. Would it be the timeless classic? Jeremy Rock getting the job done for Sherbrooke as he has time and time again throughout his illustrious career, or would young Hugo Richard stage his own version of no CIS for old men? Let's head east and find out.
To beautiful Sherbrooke, Quebec we go. Let's pick things up in the second queue with Laval leading by a deuce. Hugo Richard takes the snap, and he doesn't think twice. He tucks it, he trucks it. This kid has more poise than Miss Rhode Island, and it's 9-blank red. Very first play after the kick return, Jeremy Rock has a case of the drop skis. He gets smacked by Vincent Deloge. It's Laval football. Very next play, Richard throws a strike to Charles Lambert, making it 16-0 for the visitors. Just under 10 minutes later, he then airs one out for Nicolas Gobier, and a gorgeous leaping effort. The side of the end zone is now 23-0 Laval, and right before halftime, Hugo, looking like a young Jimmy Kemp out there, shakes a tackle, scrambles out wide to his right, and finds Felix Lechassier. Laval only needed that opening safety to do the job, really. The final score, 43-1 for the defending champs. Laval improves to 2-0 on the season, and you can expect that run to continue throughout at least the rest of September. They play 2 bottom feeders in 2 weeks, heading to Bishops this weekend to meet the winless Gators. They then return home to host winless McGill on the 27th.
Bishops, Montreal. The Montreal Carabins got their first win of the season with a decisive 41-7 drumming of the Bishops Gators. Michael Davidson was the big man on campus. The fourth-year receiver racked up over 100 yards while scoring 2 touches. The Carabins defense was stifling on the day, allowing just 179 yards of total offense for the Gators.
McGill takes a stomping from the ever-surprising Concordia Stingers. They win the 46th annual Shaughnessy Cup before a nice crowd of over 3,100 at Molson Stadium. Coming up next for McGill, the Montreal Carabins, while Sherbrooke takes on the Concordia Stingers this weekend.
Laval in first? No surprise there, but take a look at who's joining them. That's right, the Stingers are back, baby.
It was a tough week for the Queen's Gales, but there was a bright side for the Tricolor. They got a chance to get their revenge at home versus a team that snatched the Yates Cup out of their hands last season.
So off to a rainy Richardson we go. The rain was an issue early for the Mustangs, down 3-0 in the first and knocking on the Gales' door. Yannick Haru can't hold on to the leather. Queens pounces on the biscuit, but they end up conceding a safety out of it. Second cue, Stangs back in the Gales' zone. Will Finch drops one down for Garrett Sanvito. Fantastic grab from the running back. Purple Ponies take the lead. A few minutes later, that lead would grow. Sanvito waltzes into the end zone with ease. Western takes a 19-3 lead into halftime. Third cue and the Gales get going. Billy McPhee to Aaron Dowd for a 19-yard pickup. A few plays later, McPhee on play action hits Alex Carroll for the major. Western lead down to 14. Late in the queue, Finch underthrows the ball. Jake Furlot shows off his great hands. Turnover Gales, but they can't do anything with it. Dowd thinks he's got 6, but he gets called down at the 1 and Queens fails to punch it in. The next series, the Stangs make him pay for it. Finch goes to the air for Brian Marshall, who makes an outstanding grab. Then he rubs it in the defender's face. That would lead to a Will Finch touchdown. Later in the 4th, Tom Marshall puts the game completely out of reach. Western goes into Richardson and gives the Gales a smackdown. Garrett Sanvito with a pair of scores for the Mustangs on the day. Former CIS Rookie of the Year Shaquille Johnson, who sat out last year after transferring from McGill, suited up for the first time this season for the Mustangs. Mac at home to Carleton. Pick this up at the start of the 4th queue. Carleton down by 20. Better make that 13. Nick Gorgachuk hits Nate Bahar for the major. It's a 2-score game. A few minutes later, Gorgachuk chucks one up for Dexter Brown, who hauls it down. Takes it 65 yards all the way to pay dirt. It's now a 6-point game. Could the Ravens pull off an incredible upset? Nope. No, they couldn't. Because Wayne Moore said so. Here he gets 6 with this 7-yard scamper, and then he goes end zone again, plowing his way into the maroon fake grass. Carleton comes close, but couldn't stop the Mac attack. Moore with his biggest game so far of the year for the Marauders.
Warriors, Golden Hawks. It's the Battle of Waterloo, Ontario. Waterloo visiting Laurier, already leading 3-blank. James Fracas from a few yards out hits Ethan Loft for his first career CIS major. The Loft family in attendance, they're loving it. We don't have the clip, but I'm sure they were. Now 21-blank, and the Dylan Campbell show continues. It's from 36 yards out. He's splitting the Warrior D apart. This man is an absolute gem. This one is an absolute gimme. Dylan, you can run. No question about that. Your handshakes, though, they are bad. They may need some fine-tuning before the season's out. Final score, 44-blank. Dylan Campbell's tear continues. He leads the CIS in rushing yards, yards per game, and touchdowns with 5 through 3 games.
Wolf on the road in the nation's capital. Pick this one up late in the 1st queue. Jazz Lindsay to a Dre Fraser. That's a good chunk of real estate. A few plays later, Lindsay tosses a beauty to the back of the end zone. James Ingram hauls it in. It's 7-zip Griffins. Shift to the 2nd. GG's pinned in their own zone on 3rd and 1. They go for it. Derek Wendell gets tossed. That's a TOD. And they pay for it. Lindsay hits Rob Farquharson. Not sure what Ottawa head coach Jamie Barresi was thinking. That put the Griffins up by 16. 3rd Q now, and Lindsay puts this game to bed. He fakes the handoff to Farquharson. The GGs and the cameraman bite on the fake big time. Lindsay takes it to the house, and wait for it. Come on, Jazz. The Cam Newton Superman. What is this, 2011? Farquharson had a monster day after missing last week's game versus Toronto. Ottawa earns its first loss of the year, but can bounce back next week when they face Carleton in the annual Panda game. The Argo Cup was on the line in the T-Dot. It's the 45th edition of the annual Red and Blue Bowl. Both teams in search of their first W of the season. Pick this up late in the 1st queue. Lucas Gavick, already with a TD in the game, finds an inside seam and like a hot knife through butter, makes his way into the bluegrass. Just like that, it's 14-0 for the Navy Blue. Before the end of the queue, Blues pivot Simon Nasser hits Kevin Bradfield. The 2013 All-Canadian returner shows off his best trait, blows by the pack of Lions. 3rd Q now, and Gavick goes off once again. This time it's for 27 yards. That's his 4th major of the day. The Varsity Blues defend the Argo Cup, mauling the Lions by 70.
All right, let's take a look at those OUA standings. MacMaster, they're perfect. 3-0 at the moment. Western, Windsor, your other perfect teams at 2-0, while Waterloo, York, and surprisingly Queens, they're the bottom feeders, winless on the year.
Some absolute fantastic games from this past weekend. Andrew, coming up this coming weekend, we got the Panda Bowl. Predictions?
Pandas? Extinct in 5 years.
No, it's Carleton against Ottawa for the Panda.
But like I said, pandas, they're going to be extinct in 5 years, no?
You're not getting this. I'm not going to explain it. It's going to take a while. We're going to go to break. Here's where you can find CIS football on your TV this weekend.
5 years.
The 1983 Vanier Cup featured the Calgary Dinosaurs and the Queen's Golden Gales. Future Hall of Fame coach Peter Cannellan led the Calgary crew into Varsity Stadium with Greg Vavra at the controls.
1983's Vanier was played between the Calgary Dinos and the Queen's Golden Gales. Greg Vavra was the quarterback for the Dinos, and he puts his team up by 7 with the help of Bill Borger. Queens responds with a field goal, but the Dinos would come back with 3 of their own. Dinos lead 17-3 when we pick it up in the 4th quarter. Queens with the fake field goal. Ross O'Doherty from 8 yards out. They get the 2-point convert, and Dinos have a 6-point lead. Each team adds another field goal, and then it's every special teams coach's worst nightmare: botching the catch on a punt return. Queens recovers. A few plays later, from only 1 yard out, ball's actually fumbled, but recovered by the Gales in the end zone. Ruled the TD. Convert's going to give Queens its first lead of the day. Greg Vavra is a future CFL quarterback, nerves of steel, comes right back, finds Mike Shiroshka, who treats us to one of the best end zone celebrations of any era of football. Dinos don't look back and win their first ever Vanier. Final score 31-21.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Krown Countdown U. It's time again for the roundtable portion. We welcome in my co-host, of course, Andrew Wadden on the far side. We have our producer, Jim Mullen, in the middle. And live from the Quebecois, we have JP Chouaret, our RSEQ insider. How you doing, JP?
Super. Glad to be with you guys.
Perfect. We're going to start things out with you, my friend. QB controversy in Laval. Is it Skinner? Is it Hugo Richard? What seems to be the situation over there?
In my opinion, there's no controversy at all. I mean, you have to go with Richard as your quarterback. Right now, he's top 3 in pretty much all, CIS categories in terms of for a Canadian quarterback. Over 70% of completions, 6 passing TDs, 2 run TDs. This is the franchise quarterback you're looking for, you're looking to build on for the next 5 years. It's too bad for Alex Skinner, but that fight he just had in a bar cost him his job.
Yeah, and I guess the question that I have for you, JP, with these two, is it fair for a quarterback to basically lose the job through attrition like this, especially to a first-year quarterback? Or have we seen the last of Alex Skinner?
It's not about what's fair and what's not. It's about what's best for the team. And you have a kid, Hugo Richard, you could tell for years that he was going to be the next great quarterback out of the queue. Was the QB for a world team and everything. And now he came in, first game as a rookie quarterback and just pulled one of the best games we've seen from a Laval quarterback against Montreal in the home opener. So he proved he belonged, and you can tell that his teammates, feel are confident when he's around, and you can tell he's in control. He's the guy you want to go with because he's done everything right so far. And too bad for Skinner, but he's going to learn that, if you make one big mistake in your life, it might cost you down the road.
Yeah, and I believe truly that Hugo Richard, moving forward, is going to be the best quarterback in the entire CIS. And obviously you got Will Finch for the next few years in Western, but looking at Richard in those first few games, even in that exhibition game early in the season or before the season, the kid looks so polished. He's a fantastic quarterback, and really the only controversy there is that Laval's got 2 great ones, and one of them's outplaying the other one quite badly right now, and it looks like it's going to be Richard moving forward.
Now, Richard is a pleasant surprise, of course, for Laval. Laval, the way they're playing so far this season, not surprising anybody. But Jim, we're going to start things out with your quarter poll surprises. Who's jumping off the map so far for you?
Well, I think JP will probably agree with me on this one. I think the Concordia Stingers are the biggest surprise. I think when the Donovans went in there was also a big surprise when they decided to cut some fifth-year players away and really send a message. And I think by changing the culture in that team immediately, they triggered a lot of positive change into action.
Andrew?
You know what? Right now, I like the Alberta Golden Bears. I mean, in the Canada West as a whole, this looks like the Calgary Dinos are going to use the whole conference as their whipping boys. But I mean, look at the way things are shaping up right now. Alberta gets, completely destroyed by Calgary. We all saw that coming. But then this weekend, they gave a fantastic game against Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan beat Manitoba. I mean, it's all over the place right now. So really, what a big surprise for me is the Canada West Conference as a whole. We know the Dinos are going to win it. I mean, it's that simple. But the rest of it is going to be fantastic moving forward. It's kind of like the AUS in that regard. A lot of parity, and maybe Alberta's going to break that streak and win a game this year because they almost did it over the weekend.
A great race for second place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, JP, out to you.
Well, I'm going after Jim. I mean, the Stingers are the big surprise here in the Q. I mean, they're 2-0 after not winning a single game all of last year, and they just demolished McGill 41-7 at McGill Stadium. I mean, what the Donovan brothers are putting in place right now in Concordia is what you're looking for the next decade. I've had the chance to play against both Donovan, Mickey and Pat, and they were great competitors on the field, and they're exactly the kind of coaches you want to play for. So definitely Concordia, the big surprise, but it's not a surprise after all if you know these guys well.
Yeah, I feel like Concordia is the obvious choice. I feel like Andrew might have been the only one going outside the box on that one, so I'm going to start with Andrew for the next question. Well played, sir. Nicely done.
Thank you.
Your quarter pole letdown.
Well, my quarter pole letdown really happened over the weekend because I got to see it firsthand. It's the UBC Thunderbirds. Here's a team that trotted out two huge recruits, Marcus and Terrell Davis. Obviously, Terrell transferring from Arizona State 2 years ago was one of the top recruits in all of Canada, ended up going down south. His brother Marcus was the number 3 recruit this year in Canada, and they're not utilizing them whatsoever. The team looked like boys playing men when they played the Calgary Dinos this weekend. Huge letdown for the UBC Thunderbirds, and they really got to pick up the slack because they're going to go down quickly.
Jim?
Well, I agree with you with UBC. It's a number of foundation teams here. Queens and McGill really jump off the page to me. I'm going to leave McGill for JP because it's in his neck of the woods. But the Queens Gales are a huge disappointment to me. Not just because they're 0-3 right now, but because they got caught with an academically ineligible player which wiped out whatever they had in their first 2 games. And on top of that, banning your student newspaper from covering your games, taking away 3 of 4 press passes when you need friends to kind of build an audience on campus, especially with some of the controversy hovering around Queens in the off-season with noise bylaws and being bad neighbors at Richardson Stadium. It's just completely counterintuitive by the Gales to take a tack like this. So the Queens Gales are my disappointment so far.
JP, out to you, buddy.
Well, I could go on with McGill. Definitely a letdown to me as well, going 0-2. I had big hopes for that team. But, being a Sherbrooke alum, I can't not help to go. Losing to Laval is one thing. Losing at home in your home opener and scoring just 1 point of offense is, it's inadmissible. You're talking about a team that is led by a senior quarterback, Jeremy Rock, one of the best in the league. But you're not able to score more than a single point against Laval. This program was in the Dunsmore 2-3 years ago, and right now it's on a free fall. So, it breaks my heart to see this, but right now it's a letdown. And I can only hope that the coaching staff and the players are going to be, persistent enough and disciplined enough to turn this around and finish this in the playoff. But right now, just 1 point against Laval. Come on, guys.
JP, I've got to ask you, why is this a letdown in Sherbrooke? I think we saw this coming when we took a look at some of their recruiting classes over the last 2 years. They're only getting middle grade recruits in comparison to the Montreals and the Lavals of the world. And the other thing, too, is when I take a look at the track record in Sherbrooke of Quebec Major Junior Hockey League franchises, the one thing I know about Sherbrooke is they do not support a loser. And I see the crowds dropping off there. Can they break this free fall, JP?
Well, that's a tough question, and I'm not going to go into details in this one. But really, of course they can. Just need a couple of wins in a row, and then they turn things around. As for the attendance, You know, they had a couple of good deals with some student corps to make it a free access to the game. You know, that's good, but you need more. You need excitement. You need some marketing in place, some branding for the team to really shine in a market where there's really nothing much else, you know, aside from that junior hockey team. So Sherbrooke should be right up there in all of the media, but really the relationship with media in Sherbrooke, there's no big interest from the crowd. So can they turn this around? It's all about winning on the field, but then following up with a right marketing plan. So it's up to them. You know, the future's in their own hands.
All right, JP, this brings us to quick hits. You got 30 seconds or less. You're on the clock starting now.
Who's going to be the official broadcaster of the RSEQ next year on TV? You know, Radio Canada is doing a good job right now with limited budget, but as we know, they're getting cuts everywhere in their sports department. So who's going to take that lead? Is it TVA Sport, who've been acquiring all these rights to TV deals? Or is it RDS that might make a switch to more football and try to link something between CIS and the CFL? So to me, this is big in Quebec in terms of moving on to future years. Who's going to get that deal and what are they going to do with it?
RDS, good initials. Ryan David Sullivan, by the way. Andrew, you?
Yeah, right now, and I'm sorry to have to do this to the UBC Thunderbirds, but my quick hit of the day is got to be Sean Olsen, the offense. It's very questionable up at UBC right now. Terrell Davis is not being utilized whatsoever. Just played garbage time basically against Calgary. Played specials throughout the game. His brother Marcus is getting starting position, but Terrell is not being utilized, and he's got Brandon Deschamps back there as well. I mean, he's not even really getting much usage as well. Two great running backs. Get them going. Put them in there, Sean.
Jim, take us home.
Hey, Panda game coming up. This is going to be fantastic. There was talk about this Panda game being even a sellout in Ottawa at the new CFL stadium there. I'm really looking forward to it. There's been tremendous buzz about it, and I know that's probably the game that we're going to lead off with next week between Carleton and Ottawa.
Absolutely. There you go. That wraps it up for the round.
Hey.
Oh,
cake.
Oh, my mistake. A good rhyme, by the way.
Bring on the cake.
It just so happens to be the man in the middle's birthday, ladies and gentlemen. We can hear you.
Check this out, JP.
We can hear you singing at home.
80s Cakes made this. My partner Kia decided to commission this, and it's an actual rendition of these two and Larry David from Seinfeld in the middle.
You don't look a year over 78. That's gorgeous. There you go with that. That'll do it from Krown Countdown U for Andrew Wadden, Jim Mullen, our RSEQ insider, JP Chouare. I'm Ryan Sullivan. Thanks so much for joining us. Here's your CIS Top 10.
Number 10. Number 9. Number 8. Number 7. Number 6. Number 5. Number 4. Number 3. Number 2. And number 1. Thanks for watching Krown Countdown U. Now, let's get out to the game.